Hello everybody and welcome to episode 4 of...
Stop right there. You are not hosting today. I am hosting today. Last episode, you said that I could do it. Let's get it to stick on your beard. And you didn't let me do it. So today, I am hosting today's show. So make sure that stays on there. Welcome to Above the Ring, episode 4. I'm Jade. We've got Greg, who won't be saying a lot today, and we've also got Guy over here. We hope you are all travelling really well and great to have you with us. Today's episode is all around a question that we had from someone, Michelle, and it was around coachability, which was in our last episode, and just looking at when you might have a player that thinks that their knowledge might be more or better than the coach's knowledge, and how to manage that type of situation. So we've got a few scenarios that we've already had a chat about, and 2 types of situations we thought we might discuss is if the player is actually quite knowledgeable or very experienced and has been playing for a while, so how to manage that, but also looking at if the player thinks their knowledge is quite strong, but it isn't really. So I'm going to throw to Guy now to start us off.
I'm also taking this off. Right. Thanks.
All right, I'll let you take it, but just make sure that
like
you
a
don't
wax.
Interrupt me, okay?
All right.
So I'm going to get Guy to start chatting about an experienced player, how to work, how to coach, and working with them.
Yeah, look, you actually might see this a little bit in more of that advanced or senior netball scenario. Maybe you're a player coach and you've got out on court, you've got a whole range of players that are out there with you playing at the same time, and that can be challenging in itself. But there may be times where maybe you've just put your hand up to coach that team, and there are some experienced players around there. I don't think it's a bad thing to actually use that experience and knowledge to work in your favour. And that's where you might end up having them more in a bit of a leadership position in different areas of the court, particularly if you play down one end of the court. That might be a good way of doing it, and have leaders in each area that can kind of coach throughout the game as well. It might also be, if you're looking at a juniorish more team, like an under 15s team, and there is a really strong player that's maybe playing at rep level or something like that, and you're coaching the club team, is actually use their knowledge a little bit and get them to come and deliver some of the skills that they're doing in their rep program, or with their more senior coach that maybe they're getting some activities from. So get them to come and deliver it. Give them a heads up and say, we would really love you to take a session or part of a session next week, and get them to plan it, get them to come and deliver it, and you can support them as they're doing it. Not only will it put them a little bit on the spot to actually do your role and be the coach and see what it's all like, but also just to help them to develop some of their personal skills as well. So actually leading a group of their peers, which can sometimes be a bit challenging, and put them out of their comfort zone. So I think there's some really great ideas to kind of work with that knowledge and work with that experience within your own coaching.
Because we would see, sorry to jump in on you, already can't even stop it, put the tape back on. You would see that a lot when you've got players, because we can play netball 7 days a week. So you've got some players that are playing rep, they might be playing footy netball if footy netball is played in your states, but then they're playing club netball as well. So, as a coach, understanding where you fit within that space can be challenging too. And we get the opportunity to speak to lots of coaches about that. I've got a question for you though, because one of the things you mentioned was getting them to come in and deliver. What do you think about, say, a club coach communicating with a rep coach or a coach that's from a higher level? Do you think that's a good thing to do so that you can maybe not give the player all of the ownership, but you can then learn how to work with that player and coach them based on what they're being told at a higher level.
Yeah, particularly you see that a lot within the programs that we coach in. For example, within the VNL, the Victorian Netball League, we'll often have players that are in state programs or within talent ID programs. So we do need to communicate back and forth between the different coaches that are with that athlete, particularly around their individual plans, and as they develop, you want to make sure that you're kind of on the same page with that. So even if you take that down to that next level down, absolutely communicate to the different coaches or the different people within that athlete's netball life, so that everybody's on the same page with what their development areas are and what they're doing really well and what they're tracking well in as well.
Yeah, because I just thinking on the fly as well, you know, when it comes to that sort of thing, if you are a coach that doesn't have maybe the same knowledge as that rep player because you're just new into coaching, that sort of conversation might open up new pathways for you as well as the coach, you know, learning new information. You might even find yourself in a position where you could get mentored by that rep coach, or I think there's lots of different scenarios that could come out of that just by having the right conversation with the right person in that scenario.
Yeah, and look, I know as a coach that's been asked from various coaches that are working with players that I've been working with, you know, they've said to me, oh, you know, what's this player focusing on? Is there anything you can tell me? And I really appreciate that, because it means that player is really getting the best from both of us. So from that side of things, yeah, I definitely think, don't be afraid if you are a coach in that situation to, just check in with the other coaches that player might be working with. It's definitely something that I would appreciate happening. So let's look at the other side of it though, where you are working with a player, and I think we've all probably experienced that to a degree, and you've got a player that does think they know quite a lot and at times maybe doesn't really listen to you or doesn't show you that respect. So what are your thoughts, Greg?
Yeah, because I guess the age group starts to come into it too. When would you start to see this happen? And most of the time it could be around where we're progressing through the teenage years, and we see a little bit of that sassiness come out of players when it comes to team dynamics. And at times we know, I reckon when I was a kid, I used to think that I knew more than my parents, and sometimes that happens in the sporting space as well. So you've got a teenager who's coming through and they think that they know more, but they don't, or potentially don't. And it's, I guess, trying to beat that before you get to the situation where you have to manage it. Because one of the things that we're really big on is leading players through that process of being a younger athlete and then learning the benefits of what sport has to provide. So if we were to lead it, we'd want to get there, or we'd want to try and address it before we get to that stage, rather than having to manage that situation, which can sometimes be a little bit daunting. I guess for me and for us, thinking about how we set up a season is really important, and that comes down to leading the standards that you want to implement for your team, and as opposed to managing expectations, because we love to talk about the differences between those two. And you can lead a standard and it can be a really positive experience. Even if somebody doesn't meet that standard, it's a better conversation to have because it's something that you will have hopefully agreed upon. Whereas if you're managing an expectation, it can be quite a challenging discussion to have. So doing things like having a team dinner before the season even starts, whether that's going out to a restaurant and having a team dinner, having the parents along, but having the discussion more so with your players, 11s, 13s, 15s, 17s, open. I don't think it matters what age group you have. You can find context in how to develop or run that particular catch-up. And discussing some of those set standards that you would like to achieve, but also asking your players for those standards too. So when you leave that meeting, you are all on the same page, and it makes it much easier if somebody's late to training or they're mucking around during trainings or they complain about having a certain bib to wear. You can recall those conversations and just say, hey, remember when we met at the start of the year? We spoke about this and you agreed that these were the standards we were going to meet throughout the year, and that's not what we're seeing. So let's get back on track. And again, it's a much more positive discussion to have than trying to, you know, manage an expectation that can be quite negative. I think the differences that you might find, and maybe you might want to chat about this, is how you might run a catch-up pre-season for, say, a 13s compared to a meeting for, say, an open group, and looking at how you implement that, because the context is going to be very different. Do you still run it for 11s and 13s the same way you run it for the open? You still run it, but what do you think would be the difference?
Yeah, I think you want to try and create an environment for the younger age groups that's not too daunting and overwhelming. So yeah, maybe it is a dinner or a pizza night or something like that. And then moving into the open ages, I think you can make it a bit more structured, and at that age too, you know, they will take a bit of ownership over their own individual performance and what they want to see from the team. So I was just going to say too, just listening to you talk about an individual player, do you think that it's okay to just have a one-on-one conversation with a player if we do get to that situation, even if we've set up the season really well? Would you think that's an okay thing to do? Yeah,
because we just spoke about the pre-season and setting it up. I guess it's the follow-up throughout the year as well, and whether you implement a mid-year catch-up too, like a dinner mid-year, or catch-up reviews mid-year, depending on the age group that you're working with, so that you can, again, leave that standard. It's something that's a constant discussion, so it never seems to be just an out-of-the-blue meeting that you have to have. It's something that you're discussing with your players all along, and those meetings, they might be, you know, here's some things you're doing really well, here's some things we would want you to work on, and let's talk about the team standards. How do you think we're tracking? And having that as part of that conversation. So you probably don't get to the point where you feel like you've got to have this, you know, conversation with the player because you're just not seeing the behaviours that you agreed on at the start.
Yeah, okay. I think, yeah, there's a fair bit to it, and as we said earlier, you know, the situation could be different depending on juniors and seniors and that, but one thing we always come back to is just getting to know your players and showing them that, yes, you want them to respect you, but you respect them as well. So I think going a little bit extra with these catch-ups and these one-on-one feedback sessions will show them that you're invested, so that hopefully they invest back in you as well. So hopefully that gives you lots of ideas and things to go away with. We do have the Great Inspire Battle about to come up. It is a reaction challenge and very testing.
We're all getting a bit older, so
yes.
Might not move as fast as we used to.
Yes, so check that out now, and hopefully you all think I did really well. So we hope you enjoyed that little bit of entertainment. You can see that Greg has some tape on again. He did successfully win that challenge. I came very close.
And you guys just don't want me to celebrate. It's my first challenge win.
But look, it was a bit of fun, and definitely give it a go yourselves.
Yeah.
It's called
Home Court.
Home Court, the app. Check it out.
And send us in your version of it.
Yes, there's lots of different things you can do on there. Great to be doing, especially if you're in Victoria at the moment too, because you can easily do it at home. So thank you for joining us for today's episode. We hope you've been able to take away a few new ideas and tips. Please let us know if there's anything that you want to ask or any questions. Just put it in the comments on this post. And until next time,
Have a great week.
have a great week.
See you later.
Bye.